Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Torigno. This will be the back side of the Chapter 3 quiz review that you got in class today. This is for the second quiz in Chapter 3, which is the one that, for the most part, is in the table format. And here's a copy of what we did just a minute ago in my previous video. I'm pulling this back up because after I finished that video and replayed it, I realized that it cut off a little bit of the beginning. So I just wanted to explain what I did there in number 1. In case you missed it. In number 1, I looked at this equation and noticed right away that because y was by itself, that it was in slope-intercept form. So that's what I've written down here, y equals mx plus b. That's your formula for slope-intercept form. So to get the slope, I just took the m value, which was -2. And then to get the y-intercept, I took the b value, which was 10. Because remember, that's what these letters stand for in slope-intercept form, the slope and the y-intercept. And then I was able to transfer that down here to the parallel line, because anytime you know the slope, you automatically know the parallel line is going to be exactly the same. In fact, if you look at this entire table, you should see that the slope column matches the parallel line column exactly. Okay, these should match up entirely. So I just wanted to clear that up in case anyone was still wondering about that one in the first video. Okay, here's the back side of the quiz review. We have one word problem to worry about here, and we did a warm-up similar to this, I think, last week. It says, Stephen receives a gift of $3,000 that he invests in a savings account. After he begins working, he starts depositing an additional $100 each month. So I want to know the total in his account after m months. So the total in his account starts at $3,000. And then it says that he deposits an additional $100 each month. So think about how you would show an additional $100 per month. That's your equation, that your total amount in the account is $3,000 plus $100 per month. Now it says the total in his account after 4 years. The one thing I would be very careful about here is that this is in years and my m is in months. Okay? So 4 years, 4 times 12 is 48 months. So when I go to plug this in, I would do 3,000 plus 100 times 48. See, that's going to be 4,800 plus 3,000 should be $7,800. Okay, so you're just plugging the amount of months in there and getting the total. Nothing tricky there. All right, the bottom part said to choose 3 of the lines from the table to graph. I'm going to pick some lines that I think are especially noteworthy, some things that I would really want you to look at. I just want to double check. On your quiz is very similar to this in that you get to pick which lines you're going to graph. Now I do give you some stipulations, so I'll try to make sure I hit what I want you to see here. But you can choose any of the lines that you want to graph. So I'm going to start with question number 1. Let's see, what question number 1? Nope, question number 1 won't fit on my graph. Never mind. Let's do question number 3. Okay, so this first one I'm going to mark as question number 3. And just so you can recall, the equation for question number 3 is y equals 2/3 x minus 6. Okay. If I were graphing this with slope-intercept form, which is what I'm going to show you here, because many of you are very comfortable with that method of graphing, I would start at the y-intercept, which is -6. Oh man, this isn't big enough for this either. Alright, let's count by 2's. So 2, 4, -2, -4, -6, -8, -10. Okay, I'm going to start at -6. And I'm going to use my slope, which is still 2/3. Now, as long as I count on my x-axis the same way, so as long as I make this 2, 4, 6, and this -2, -4, -6, as long as I count the exact same way, I can still just count boxes for my 2/3. So I can go up 2 and over 3 and make a point. Okay. I could do it again, up 2 and over 3, except I'm going to run out of space again, but it should be someplace over here. Okay. And then I can draw my graph. Apologize for that. I'll make sure the ones on your quiz are a little bit bigger, the coordinate planes. Okay, so that was question number 3. I want to look at graphing one of the ones that's in standard form, and the only one I see that's in standard form is question number 2. Okay, question number 2 is given to you in standard form, 4x minus 5y equals 40. Gosh, I might have a hard time getting this one on the graph though too. Okay, I'll just count by 2's again. So, a word to the wise for you. On these graphs for this quiz review, you're best off if you count by 2's. Okay, so this is question number 2. And just to refresh your memory, the equation said 4x minus 5y equals 40. Now with these, we don't really have a process to follow like we did with the slope-intercept form one. I think it's easiest to graph these using the intercepts, okay? And we already found the intercepts. We found that the y-intercept was at -8, and the x-intercept was at 10. You can look back on your table to see how I came up with those. I'm going to count by 2's again. Okay, so this is -2, this would be +2, +2, this would be -2. Just to give you an idea. So if I want y to be -8, I would go down 2, 4, 6, 8. There's -8. My x-intercept is +10, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Just barely get that in there. Okay. And I would draw my line. Okay, so that's an example of one that I would graph just using the intercept. So either way, I needed to know my y-intercept to start out with, but this one I used my slope to get to the next point, and this one I just used my x-intercept as my other point. So if you're confident that you got the x and y-intercept correct, this is probably the easier way to go, is just stick these 2 points on your graph. Okay. And then the last one I want to do is, we could look at either 4 or 5. I'll do 5 just because I know that will fit on my graph a little bit better. X equals -2. That's going to be sort of a special circumstance line, because as you can see, these ones both had an X and a Y in them, which made them nice diagonal oblique lines. This one only has an X. So this is going to be a different case. It's going to be a little different than these diagonal ones. I want you to think about whether it would be horizontal or vertical. It is really best if you can just start to memorize this, but in case you haven't already, let's think about this. I know that this line has to go through -2 on the x-axis. So let's see, -2 on the x-axis, and this time I'm not counting by 2's, is right there. If I want to go through that point, it doesn't really make sense to go right along this axis. Okay? In fact, I'll probably never give you one where you're graphing right along the axis. It's possible, but when you see this point, I want this to scream out at you that we should be making a vertical line through this point. Okay, so x equals -2 would look like that. The other thing you could do if you weren't sure about that is make yourself just a quick little table. This is saying x has to be -2 no matter what. I'm just going to choose 2 points here. And then y can be anything I want. If it only tells me what x has to be, then I get to pick whatever I feel like for y. So maybe I'll do 1 and 0. If you plotted these 2 points, -2, +1 would be right here, and -2, 0 would be my intercept that I have right there. And just getting those 2 dots on there should be enough to show you that this line should be a vertical line. Okay, that's how you would graph that one. By the way, looking back at number 4, that was an equation where it was just y equals a number. If you have y equals a number, that's going to give you a horizontal line. And again, you could think of that as, I know it's got to go through the y-axis, So I'm going to put the point in the right spot on the y-axis and then draw my line straight through it. Okay? That's it for the quiz review. If you do have more questions on this, please feel free to email me, or you can comment on this video and I will respond to it tonight. And we will spend a little bit of time reviewing this in class tomorrow. Okay? Good luck.